All right. Hey, everyone, and welcome back. Ready for another deep dive. This time, we're heading to Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, yeah. The village made famous, of course, by Washington Irving in his iconic story, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
I love that story. Okay, so we're going to uncover all the secrets of Sleepy Hollow.
That sounds fun.
Right. From the spooky themes to the characters and even some, life lessons along the way.
Sounds good.
You ready to jump in?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's do it. So first things first, we got to talk about the setting of this story.
Yeah, Sleepy Hollow itself is almost like its own character. It's just overflowing with folklore and this drowsy, dreamy atmosphere.
Yeah. It really is like you can almost feel time moving slower there.
Right.
And Irving even describes the people there as they see visions and fall into trances.
Yeah, they're very susceptible to that kind of thing.
Which, kind of makes sense, right? If you're in a place like that.
Exactly. It makes the reader ready to believe that maybe, the supernatural is real. It's more than just campfire stories. It's just part of life.
Have you ever been to a place like that where you felt like anything was possible? Like you could almost believe in ghosts.
Not quite Sleepy Hollow, but yeah, I get it.
Me too. Okay, so let's meet our main guy, Ichabod Crane.
Ah, Ichabod Crane, this awkward, lanky schoolmaster.
He's obsessed with both ghost stories.
And food.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Irving's description of him is hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the genius of famine descending upon the earth.
Wow, okay.
Or, get this, some scarecrow eloped from a cornfield.
That's pretty vivid.
I know, right? But it also makes you think, maybe he represents that awkward, feeling of being an outsider.
Oh, interesting.
Trying to fit in. He's really drawn to Katrina Van Tassel, because she's rich and beautiful.
Oh, yeah, Katrina. She's quite the character.
She is. Irving describes her as the bloomin' lass of fresh 18.
Yeah, and she knows how to use her charm, that's for sure.
She does. She's got every guy in town wanting to marry her, especially Ichabod.
And, of course, Brom Bones.
Brom Bones. So he's Ichabod's rival.
He is. He's like this big, strong, local hero.
Right. Totally different from Ichabod.
Yeah, and he loves to play pranks, especially on Ichabod.
That's so funny.
I think their rivalry, though, might be more than just about Katrina.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, it's like they represent two different visions of America.
Like what?
You have Ichabod, who's kind of bookish and clumsy. And then you have Brom, who's this confident, strong guy.
Okay. Yeah, I see that.
I wonder if Irving was making fun of the anxieties that people had back then.
Like about fitting in and getting ahead.
Exactly. America was still figuring itself out back then.
That's a good point. It's a theme that's still around today, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we all have rivals, whether at work or even just trying to get the last cookie at a party.
Oh, for sure.
So listeners, have you ever felt like you were going up against your own Brom Bones? Let us know. Now, let's dive into the spookier stuff.
Okay, yeah, let's get to the ghosts.
The themes of superstition and imagination are everywhere in this story.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to Ichabod.
Oh, he's obsessed with ghost stories.
He really is. He seems to devour those scary tales like they're candy or something.
It's kind of funny, but also kind of makes him the perfect target for,
For the Headless Horseman.
Yeah. But what's really clever is how Irving blurs the lines between reality and fantasy.
Oh, he does that so well.
He does. You start to question what's real and what's just in Ichabod's head.
Is the Headless Horseman real? Is he just a figment of Ichabod's imagination? Or is it Brom Bones playing a trick? We don't really know.
It's what keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Uh-huh.
Like being in a haunted house.
Ooh, spooky, right.
You think you can explain everything, but then you get that little chill down your spine.
I love that feeling.
All right, so speaking of haunted houses, let's talk about the Headless Horseman.
Okay. This is where it gets good.
Oh, yeah. Irving really sets the stage for this, building up this feeling of dread as Ichabod's riding home.
Oh, I know.
It's getting dark, the trees are creaking, and then, boom, he appears.
The Headless Horseman.
The Headless Horseman. This Hessian trooper who lost his head in battle, and now he's riding around looking for it.
It's terrifying.
It is, but it's also, symbolic,
How so?
I think it represents the violence and trauma that still haunted America after the war.
Interesting. Like those unsettled ghosts of the past.
Exactly. And now they're coming for Ichabod.
Oh.
So, of course, Ichabod's terrified, and he takes off running, convinced the horseman is right behind him.
It's the most famous scene in the story.
It is. That chase scene is amazing. He loses his saddle. They go racing through the woods.
It's so cinematic.
It is. And then Ichabod just vanishes.
Oof.
Gone. All that's left is his hat and his smashed pumpkin.
So what happened?
We don't know. Was he taken by the horsemen? Did he run away?
It's a mystery.
It is. And it brings us to our first life lesson from the legend of Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, okay. What is it?
Don't let fear control your life.
That's a good one.
Right. Ichabod lets his fear get the best of him, and that's what leads to his downfall.
He runs instead of facing his fear.
Exactly. Which is something we all do sometimes, right?
Okay.
But sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones we create in our own heads.
That's deep.
I know, right? But hey, we've got to take a quick break. Don't worry, though. We'll be back soon to unravel more of the mysteries of Sleepy Hollow. Stick around.
We'll be right back. Back in Sleepy Hollow, where imagination and reality are kind of blurred together.
Yeah, it's a spooky mix. So last we saw Ichabod, he was, well, disappearing.
Right. Vanished into thin air.
But Irving doesn't actually tell us what happened to him.
Nope. It's a big mystery.
But we can use the clues he gives us.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, we have that smash pumpkin.
Right.
And all those rumors going around town.
And let's not forget, Brom Bones just happens to have a very suspicious grin every time someone mentions Ichabod.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. What do you think that means?
Well, let's see.
Okay.
Brom definitely had the motive, right?
Right.
He wanted Katrina for himself.
True. He had the opportunity. He knows Sleepy Hollow like the back of his hand. And he's got that mischievous personality. He can totally pull off a prank like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past him to scare Ichabod right out of town.
It makes sense. He represents that practical, strong side of Sleepy Hollow.
Right, he's very grounded.
While Ichabod is up in the clouds with his books and ghost stories.
Exactly. He's an easy target for someone like Brom.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's like brains versus brawn with a spooky twist.
Haha, yeah. And that brings us to another life lesson.
Oh, okay, which one?
Know your strengths and your weaknesses.
Right. So Ichabod tries so hard to be like Brom.
He wants to fit in with the tough guys.
Yeah, and he forgets what makes him special.
His knowledge, his wit.
And he focuses on trying to be strong and sporty, which he's not.
Yeah, trying to be someone he's not only makes him more vulnerable to Brom's pranks.
That's so true. It's like, you got to be yourself.
Right. Embrace your individuality. Authenticity is way more powerful than trying to be someone you're not.
Such good advice. So I've been thinking about Irving. What was he really trying to do with this story? Was it just for fun, or was there something more?
That's a great question.
I mean, he was a pretty sharp observer of society.
Oh, yeah. He definitely used satire a lot.
So maybe the legend of Sleepy Hollow is like a commentary on early America.
Oh, that's interesting. Like how...
Well, you have Ichabod and Brom, right? They're like symbols of the tension between the old and the new.
I see that. Like tradition versus progress.
Exactly. Which is still relevant today, right? I mean, the world's changing so fast.
Oh, yeah. I can feel like you're constantly trying to catch up.
And it can be scary, kind of like Ichabod facing the Headless Horseman.
Oh, that's a good point. So maybe that brings us to another life lesson.
What's that?
Don't believe everything you hear.
How does that fit in?
Well, Sleepy Hollow is full of gossip and superstition, right? And that's what gets Ichabod into trouble.
Right, he believes all the ghost stories.
He does, and it clouds his judgment.
Yeah. And I think that's a big problem today, too, with all the misinformation out there.
Oh, yeah, especially online.
It's like Irving is telling us to think for ourselves.
Exactly. Don't just blindly accept what you read or what people tell you.
Be critical, be skeptical, and be curious.
I love that. Curiosity is key. And, speaking of stories,
Yeah.
Sleepy Hollow is all about storytelling.
It is. The ghost stories are like part of the town's DNA.
They shape how people see the world.
Right, and they get passed down through generations, so you don't even know what's true anymore.
It's like Irving himself is doing that with the legend of Sleepy Hollow, weaving together history, folklore, and, his own imagination.
And he's a really good storyteller. He makes you believe in the impossible.
He does.
It makes you think about the stories we tell ourselves.
About the stories we believe.
And how they shape our lives.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is. And that's something to think about as we continue our exploration of Sleepy Hollow. We still have a lot more to discover.
Oh, yeah, we're not done yet.
All right, deep divers, we're back. It's time to wrap up our adventure in Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, but before we say goodbye to Ichabod and the Headless Horseman, I think there's one more life lesson we should uncover.
Oh, okay. I'm all ears.
We've talked about fear and ambition, but what about appearances? Like how they can be deceiving.
I see where you're going with this.
Sleepy Hollow seems like this peaceful, charming village, right?
Yeah. On the surface.
Right, but underneath, there's a darker side.
It's a place where, shadows linger and Superstition runs wild.
Exactly. Like, even the most rational people can get swept up in it.
Irving's kind of telling us, don't be fooled by what you see.
Right.
Like, take Ichabod, for example.
Oh, yeah, good point. He's so fixated on Katrina's beauty and her family's money.
He doesn't see who she really is.
He's chasing a fantasy.
Yeah, totally. But it's not just Katrina. The whole village is kind of caught up in this illusion.
It's true. They're all about ghost stories and the supernatural.
Maybe they're using those stories to explain things they don't understand.
Or maybe they like the thrill of it.
Could be. But it reminds us that even the nicest places can have secrets.
And that we shouldn't judge a book by its cover.
Right. Or a village by its charming cottages and spooky legends.
Exactly. We got to look deeper, question what we see, and remember that there's always more to the story.
That's so important, especially today.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it. With social media and everything.
Oh, yeah. We're constantly bombarded with images and information.
It's curated,
Yeah.
you know. It's not always the full picture.
It's like those perfectly filtered photos everyone posts.
Right. It's easy to forget that real life isn't always so picture perfect.
So Irving is like reminding us to be critical.
To think for ourselves.
And to remember that there are always multiple sides to every story.
That's a good lesson to take away from Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
So as we say goodbye to this eerie little village.
Oh, I'm a little sad to leave.
Me too. But I want to leave everyone with a question.
Ooh, what is it?
What do you think makes a great ghost story? Like, why are we still so fascinated by them after all these years?
That's a good one. Well, I think it's that mix of fear and fascination.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like the feeling you get watching a scary movie.
It's thrilling, but we also know it's not real, so we can enjoy the scare.
Exactly. But I also think a good ghost story makes you think.
It makes you question what you believe.
And maybe even learn something about yourself.
I like that. It's like, even in a world that's so focused on logic and science, we still crave a little mystery.
We need that touch of magic. So next time you're somewhere quiet and the wind's rustling the leaves.
Ooh, getting chills already.
Just listen. You never know what stories you might hear whispered on the wind.
Maybe even the sound of a galloping horse and a headless rider.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.